Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, AstraZeneca recently became the first British company to reach a market value of more than $200 billion, or actually £200 billion, with a big bet on cancer drugs, helping to drive a rally in the pharma giant. Now, shares lower today after a lung cancer drug it's developing with partner showed mixed results in a late-stage trial. Now, joining us for an exclusive conversation on that, but also much more, is Pascal Soriot, the Chief Executive of AstraZeneca. Pascal Soriot, as always, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your busy schedule. Now, you published some disappointing results overnight in this late stage trial of a lung tranker, which you could still develop in the future, but are you worried that this will affect your numbers?
Good morning, Francine. It won't affect our numbers because actually, first of all, the study, I think it's important to remember, it was a study in second, third line metastatic lung cancer. That study is actually positive. And in the group of patients where we're looking to get approval, the so-called non-squamous group, we delivered a 2-month improvement in overall survival versus a very active standard treatment, Taxotere, which hasn't been beaten by any other therapy for the last 20 years or so. So a very strong set of results. Not as perfect as we would have liked. And of course, as a result, people are questioning what kind of approval we will get. We're always looking at targeting patients who will benefit the most, deliver the better risk-benefit. So we've also been developing an AI-based test that will enable us to treat the patients who will deliver the most benefit, the so-called TROP2 positive patients who have a receptor on their cells. So with this, we believe that we have a way forward. And shouldn't really not affect our numbers in the long term.
So you still have this ambition of reaching $80 billion actually in sales by 2030. Do you think you'll get approval or some kind of other approval for this drug?
Yeah, I think we will get an approval. The question that people are debating is what kind of approval we get initially in second line. I think it's important to remember that the vast majority of the potential of this medicine is in the first line metastatic lung cancer, which we are developing right now. We have several studies, and we have really good hope and good reason to believe those studies will be positive. We also have presented at the World Lung Congress a study called NeoCOAST, which is in earlier lines again, that was very encouraging, very positive. So the big potential is in the earlier lines of treatment, and that is going very well. So that is not affecting our confidence in the drug. And beyond this drug, we have many others, of course.
Pascal, you're one of the industry leaders, of course, in oncology, but also cardiovascular and respiratory. What other areas do you earmark for growth? And do you have the internal capabilities of doing it alone, or are you targeting M&A?
Actually, we can do it alone, and our focus is cancer, of course, as we just talked about. And in cancer, we are developing a whole range of products, antibody-drug conjugates, bispecific immunotherapies. And importantly, we're also working very hard on cell therapy. And cell therapy is opening the potential to cure some cancers. We're also working on technologies like T-cell engagers, so a whole range of new technologies that will improve the treatment of cancer. Outside of cancer, we're working on cardiovascular disease, metabolism. We have a whole range of products to treat obesity and metabolic diseases. And then we're also working on respiratory immunology and finally on rare diseases. So you can see that our whole portfolio goes much beyond Dato, the product we were just talking about a minute ago.
There have been a lot of questions, of course, about your site in Liverpool. Has the government reduced state aid available for this investment?
We are still in discussion with the government. We are committed to this investment, but of course, we have to wait for the final conclusion of this discussion. I can't say much more at this point. It is an important investment for us in the UK, of course, an important investment for pandemic preparedness. But I can't say much more at this point.
Is the UK lacking incentives for manufacturing and R&D investments in general, or is this also something that's under negotiation?
I think the government has really been making quite a number of efforts to attract investment in manufacturing. The bigger issue in the UK, quite frankly, is access to medicines. Pharmaceutical companies want to invest in research and development in countries where they believe their medicines will be able to help patients, so they will be reimbursed and patients will be able to benefit. And in the recent past, access and reimbursement has become more and more difficult, not only for us, but for other medicines as well. And that's probably the biggest disincentive to pharmaceutical company to commit and invest in the UK.
Pascal, several AstraZeneca employees have also been detained in China in relation to 2 probes. Are you aware of AstraZeneca actually breaking any laws in relation to those investigations?
Yeah, it's something we take very seriously, of course. It's important, though, to remember the context of it. It's a small number, 8, 9 employees that are affected by this investigation. We have 12,000 field-based employees in China. It's a big country, as we all know. We are the largest pharmaceutical company in China. We have almost 17,000 employees, 12,000 in the field. So we are looking at a smaller number of people. We have strong policies, compliance policy. We train people. We, of course, investigate. But it's impossible to have a compliance officer being each and every one of our field-based employees. So we are working very closely with the authorities. And I think actually what the government is doing is not affecting us only. It's affecting other companies. And it's a good thing because we need to really make sure that we can operate in a very compliant environment in China, like everywhere else in the world.
But what are some of the key threats for AstraZeneca in relation to doing business in China, and how can you actually mitigate some of those risks?
Yeah, of course, we are all aware of the geopolitical tensions between the US and China in particular. So what we have been doing is, of course, follow the laws and regulations in the US, in China, everywhere. But also we've been building our supply chain in China so we can supply China from China and also supply some emerging markets from China. So we have several new investments, manufacturing investments in China for many of our new medicines. And in parallel to this, we're investing in the US. Recently, we invested in a cell therapy manufacturing plant in the US, in Maryland. So you can see we're building 2 supply chains that are going to be independent from each other and enabling us to supply China on the one hand and the Western world on the other hand.
Would you ever actually consider spinning off the business in China?
No, I mean, it's a very important part of our company. First of all, there are lots of patients who need our medicines in China, but also importantly, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, China has become a very important part of global innovation in our industry. There are lots of new medicines that are invented in China that we can license in or co-develop with Chinese companies that will benefit people around the world. So we believe that China will remain an important part of our company, not only because we sell there, but also because we manufacture, export, and also can source innovation from China that will benefit the entire world.
You mentioned the U.S. What do you need from the next president of the United States of America when it comes to healthcare?
Yes, I was listening to Grace Peters, who was with you a few minutes ago, and she was talking about policy. Essentially, we need policies that will support innovation in our sector, innovation in biomedicines, innovation in research and development. The US has been the country that has been driving innovation in our industry, in life sciences, for many years. And I believe will remain so for a long time to come. China is the other big driver of innovation. Unfortunately, Europe has been falling behind. So what we need is continued investment in basic research. We need a continued investment in biotechs, in startups, through private investment that is, of course, incentivized to invest in those emerging companies. And finally, we need, of course, access for our medicines. So that is really a key part of incentivizing pharmaceutical companies. Make sure that their medicines can actually help patients.
I mean, looking at your share price, where does the market most underestimate AstraZeneca?
I think the market underestimates the strength of our portfolio and the growth we can deliver over the next number of years. The pharmaceutical industry is not a very simple endeavor, as we all know, and it's not for the faint-hearted, and you never will have a linear development. You have ups and downs, and that's what we've had in the last 10, 12 years. But in general, we are moving in the right direction. We have a very strong portfolio, and people are underestimating several of the products we have in the portfolio and reacting to events that happen on a day, as opposed to sometimes looking at the long trend. Our long-term shareholders, they of course look at those events, but they keep their eye on the long term, which is, where we can be in 2030 and beyond. And that is clearly a good place because we have good development plans and we'll continue growing.
So, Pascal, given the setback with Daiichi Sankyo, what are you most excited about of what's coming up in the pipeline?
Well, I should say Dato remains a very important product for us. It's a setback in time, even if it's a setback. I mean, we'll have to see what the FDA decides. But even if we had a more limited approval than we're looking for, we don't know what we will get. We have to wait for the FDA. But it's a timing issue because this new test we have developed will enable us to expand our presence and our use in second, third line. And then we have the studies in first line. And then thanks to this test, we'll go into other indications potentially. Breast, of course, but also many others. So that all remains an important product. Our portfolio of antibody drug conjugates is very exciting. Our bispecifics in oncology are very, very exciting. Our portfolio of products in obesity and cardiometabolism is also very exciting. Cell therapy overall, both in oncology and immunology, is very exciting. So there's a lot of products that really are going to change the future of medicine and drive our growth.
Thank you so much for your time today. That was Pascal Soriot, of course, the Chief Executive of AstraZeneca.